Hello, welcome back. Now, our next guest has been a music icon since the early 80s, shaping the sound of British pop with his unique style and unforgettable voice.
Well, before the Culture Club hit the road this summer for festival season, Boy George has popped in to say good morning. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Lovely to see you.
It's lovely to see it. So you're off. You're off out and about. You're meeting the fans. You're going to be at Uptown. What are you doing?
Uptown, which is in Blackheath, which is kind of near where I grew up.
Oh, so it's like a homecoming.
It is a bit. I mean, Blackheath is posh. I'm actually from SE9 originally.
Right.
And then moved to SE18. And Blackheath was always like a place I wanted to live when I was a kid. I was like, I'd love to live in Blackheath. But...
So how does it feel when you're doing a festival there? Is there sort of a lot of memories of sort of...
I feel like, it's funny because like South East London, I ran screaming from South East London when I was like 17 and vowed never to go back. But over the years, obviously through the DJing, I used to do a lot of clubs down there. And eventually people kind of reclaimed me as part of the sort of South East London massive. Yeah. It was like one of us,
Of course.
So no, I love it down there now, but when I was like 17, we used to get chased by casuals.
That was the look, and they all, with the way they were dressed, so they looked...
Yeah, it was like, walking around South East London dressed as a nun wasn't exactly, it didn't go down too well.
How was it growing up back in the day there and with your family? I've heard you describe it as you were the pink sheep.
Definitely. I mean, I used to sometimes see my brothers and their mates, like as I was walking down the hill to get the bus, and they'd like cross the road.
Would they really? Would you then embarrass them more?
Oh, always, yeah, absolutely, yeah, totally. Ask them for money.
And where did the look come from, George?
I think for me, it was obviously Bowie, Mark Bolan, the whole glam rock thing. I've always just loved music, even like things like 50s music, Elvis Presley, Eddie Cochran. I just loved show business.
Yeah.
I just was drawn.
But you come from a pretty straight family background. How did your mum and dad react when all of a sudden you're dressing like that and going out and being who you are?
My dad always used to try and get me to go to the boxing club. My dad used to say, you need to toughen yourself up. If you're going to walk around looking like that, you need to be able to handle yourself. And because I wasn't really interested in fighting people, but my dad's advice was learn to punch. And then if someone hits you, you can hit them back. But no, that wasn't for me.
That wasn't for me. So, but did they, obviously they knew it was you and you were happy doing that. Did they embrace it or did they sort of...
To start with, it was, frowned upon, but then eventually when they realized it wasn't going to stop, it was only going to get worse, I think they just gave up.
Did your mum ever help you with your outfits? Or
my mum started off as a kind of standing in front of the front door to stop me going out, to making things for me and allowing me to say, "Well, make this for me."
What a brilliant mum.
Yeah,
how did you turn her around? Was it just where
defiance? It was literally just you
wore them down.
Yeah, I just kept doing it, and it
but
was
I think lots of people were the same in that era. I remember actually Martin Kemp coming on and talking about the Blitz, and he said the closest thing to it was you went in there and you felt like everything was Technicolor, like your senses were heightened. So everybody was dressed differently.
Also, when you're like 17, you don't really care what other people think. Do you know what I mean? I always used to think, why do you care? But sort of loving the attention. It's a weird one. When you dress up and you're a show off, part of you wants the animosity and part of you doesn't want it. It's a real double-edged sword because why do people have to make comments?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think he also got his mum to make his outfits as well. She said she made some leather trousers for him, but didn't ever put anything to undo them. So he was desperate to go to the loo, and they hadn't put a zip and a button in. So he was just...
My mum was an excellent seamstress. It was like she would copy Vivienne Westwood clothing, and in fact one time I was in Paris wearing a pair of trousers my mum had made, and Vivienne came up and inspected them and she goes, "They're not mine." I said, "No, my mum made them." And she looked at me, she said, "Tell her she did a fantastic job."
Wow, praise from Vivienne Westwood.
It must have been your mum's proudest moment, like printed up the t-shirts with that on.
One of the lovely things when Culture Club and you'd really hit the scene, of course, there was plenty of interviews that you've done over the years, George, where you talk about the future, you talk about who you are, and we found a clip of nearly 40 years ago of an interview where someone asks you what you would like to be remembered for in 40 years. And here we go, this is what you said.
What you would like, what you think you might be doing in 40 years' time? I hope I don't know what I'd like to be remembered for. Songs mainly, you know. I mean, because I actually read something in the newspaper the other week which said Boy George was nothing to the discovered mascara, which I felt very insulted because, you know, I write songs.
Can I imagine what you would look like in 40 years' time? Are you going to be like that?
Hideous, probably. Well, I mean, everyone wants to grow up gracefully, but sometimes you just can't help it, you know.
Oh,
Aren't
Good
you
news is I look
gorgeous?
better.
you look fabulous.
But aren't you gorgeous though? You're raspy. You're so gorgeous. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do remember it. Yeah, and it's a funny one, isn't it? Because like when you first start. You know, when we first started the band, nobody was thinking about the future.
No.
Nobody thought we were sitting there 4 years later talking about our careers. You know, it just wasn't, you know, we thought we'd make a record, maybe do one tour. You know, it's, you just never know what's coming, you know.
Well, you're definitely remembered for the music, and you've got this new album,
sure.
SE18. So you're still writing the music, you're still doing a business now.
Absolutely, and I have a bunch of stuff coming out. Now I've found a way to release vinyl, so this is not going to be streamed. It's only vinyl and CD. I'm taking it right back.
How are you doing that? How are you?
You can go online and order it. Yeah.
So you have to get a physical copy. We really miss that, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like my audience doesn't seem to care about streaming.
They want to have it. They want to have the copy in their hand.
They like the lyrics.
And there's a real reggae influence there.
Yeah, and also I just love records. I actually, doing this vinyl has really reminded me of how much I just get excited when Bowie put out a record or T-Rex, you know, and you go and buy it and look
Going to the record shop and flipping
looking
through.
at who played on it, you know, who did the costumes, who did the makeup. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Well, look, it's lovely to see you. Thank you for dropping by. It's always great to catch up and have a chat. And that is such a wonderful clip.
Yeah,
It's such
it is.
a wonderful clip.
Yeah.
Oh, Boy George and Culture Club are headlining Uptown Festival at Blackheath, London on Sunday the 27th of June.
And George's new album, SE18, is out on the 21st of June.
Yeah. It's
I'm not afraid of my feelings. I'm not afraid to feel. Teaching pain, watch me do my thing. Teaching pain. Teaching pain, watch me do my thing. Teaching, oh. Ba, 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 ba. I love that secret stuff. Ba, 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 but I swear it was all in the diary. And the cue to say, don't stare at me that way. You're giving it to me wet, my God, my fighter jet. Give me nothing to regret. You're giving it to me high, as far as beats can fly. There'll be no one's tears to dry. We need to make some bread, then we need to break some bread. We need to make some bread, then we need to break some bread. Don't be unconscious, just me. Deliciously funky and free. Just me. Deliciously funky and free.
The Boy George is here.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
It's getting harder and harder to interview Boy George because as the years go by, Boy George and I are in each other's lives now so much.
Yeah.
What a treat for you, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, she told me, we've said this before, but she told me like 20 years ago that this man would end up in my life in the way he has. I'd be like, no.
No way.
Yeah,
Not him. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. I get to share so much of George's life, which, by the way, is never dull. It is. I was saying this morning, we were talking about you this morning, and I was saying your work ethic is remarkable. So this year, I think you had a couple of shows at the start of the year, I think.
Yeah.
Then you were up to New York because you were doing Moulin Rouge on Broadway every day. That was for a few months.
Yep.
Then you got back, and within a few days, you were then off to Ibiza to DJ at Pasha. You got back from Ibiza Sunday night. It's now Tuesday morning. You're in with us. And it doesn't stop. And in between all of that, you will be in the studio because you love being in the studio. You love creating all the time. Or you're at home doing your art where you will be beading or stitching. It's ludicrous.
But then if you enjoy something, it's not work.
Yeah.
You know, and even if you're kind of not looking forward to something, you can kind of just tell yourself to enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, I kind of just like, with the art stuff, that's like fun.
Yeah.
So that's not work. That's something I get pleasure out with. Music, I get pleasure out of. Actually, I try to enjoy everything I do, whatever it is.
What elements to what are the elements that make it a bit of a job? Are you like, would it like music videos or?
No, I try not to kind of moan because, you know, if you're making a music video, it's for you.
Yeah.
If you remember that it's all for you and you're doing it to promote yourself, then there's no real reason to be miserable. Plus, you know, I feel like I'm happier generally now. And so I notice that people are really grumpy in the world when I'm out and about. I just think, God, people are so negative. You know what I mean? Like, going to a shop and people look like so miserable and they're not friendly. And I'm like, I try to not be like that.
Yeah.
I try to, you know, just be nice to people because actually I've discovered, you know, that people don't really care what you look like. They're not really bothered. They just want a photo. They're not bothered whether you're dressed up or, you know, they don't care.
No.
They don't want to hear your life stories. They just want a bloody selfie.
That's
Do it.
right.
And it's just a lot quicker to be nice.
Yeah.
The minute you start saying no, you just create this energy. And I only ever said no in the past because I wasn't dressed or, I, you know, didn't think I looked good. But people don't care.
No.
They don't care.
I do, though. I'll say no. Unless I'm in full makeup, I'm saying no to selfies.
Well, you know, it's different because you've got such an extreme look, Chris.
I remember
That's hours in the chair, isn't it?
We were on tour. We were in Belfast and we were doing Jesus Christ Superstar. And Tim Minchin and I, both separately, we were in the same hotel. He got up and went for a run. And then I didn't know. And then I got up and went for a run. So we're both running around Belfast. And we both got back to the hotel within about 2 minutes of each other. But we didn't realise. And there was some lovely lady outside who wanted a picture. So I come running up to the hotel, dripping in sweat. And she goes, "Can I get a picture?" And I said, "Do you mind if I don't?" I mean, I literally, I'm like a drowned rat. It was raining. I looked awful. But I had a nice chat with her for a few minutes. Lovely coming to the show. Great. Then walked in and Tim was inside and had watched the whole conversation and he goes, "You didn't have a picture with her?" And I went, "Oh, no, look at the state of me." And he goes, "Oh, I did." And he goes, "I felt really bad because I was all sweaty." He goes, "Then you just said no." And I'm like, "Yeah, but now you make me feel bad."
Yeah, I feel like, I just know as a rule, you know, it's like, because I think it takes a lot of people to come up to you. Do you know what I mean? I would never go up to someone that I was a fan of.
Because they'll be nervous.
I remember seeing Bowie in the airport in Australia and I was famous and obviously I've been a massive fan and I was like, am I allowed to talk to him? He's in first class. You know, and I was like, I didn't because I was so nervous that he might not be friendly. So I thought I better not, you know. So I was like, you know, sort of staring, but I didn't have the guts to go and say hello.
Did you meet him?
Yeah, later on.
Right.
But that time we were both in Australia touring and I thought it's really funny because, you know, I was outside his house. I was a massive fan. So it's like, I'm also now a musician. I'm allowed to talk to him. It was kind of weird. But when I did finally meet him, he was absolutely lovely.
The amount of people we were talking about, the amount of people that you have worked with sung with is incredible. But the amount of people that you've just met, and I've always said that with you, George, and I always quote the same story. You were around at ours one day, we're sat in the garden, and I said, we're having a cup of tea, and I said, I don't know the story about you getting signed. How did you get signed? And you told me that everything, it was like a South Bank show documentary, and you said, well, I used to do this and I used to do that, and then I met these people, and then I met those people, and then you got right, like it was the whole backstory. And I'm like, your memory is phenomenal, because with some of your older habits, you shouldn't have a good memory.
I absolutely remember what I want to, though.
Right.
'Cause, sometimes people would start telling me a story and I'd be like, do you remember this story?
Yeah.
And especially if it's an awful story, I'm like, I don't remember that, But Marilyn, my friend Marilyn, always tells these stories, and he's always the one wearing the cape.
Right.
Always the hero, and I'm like, I don't remember you being the hero in that story. So there are times when I literally don't remember what someone's telling me, but then I'll remember ridiculous things from when I was a kid or,
How much of the A-Team do you remember?
I remember George Peppard apologising for the behaviour of everyone else in the cars.
Oh, really?
And I was apologising for Culture Club because we were rowing and they were rowing. There was this photo call and me and George Peppard were the first ones there.
Right.
And he was like, I'm so sorry, because none of them got on. And it was exactly what was happening with us. We were all fighting with each other as well.
It still makes me smile that you're in the A-Team.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, the band wanted to be in Miami Vice. That was
right.
the dream, because everyone, I think Duran were in Miami Vice. There was a few other bands.
Such a big show back
So
then.
Roy and Mikey wanted to be in Miami Vice, but unfortunately they got the A-Team.
Oh, I mean, I think you won. I think the A-Team's by far
awesome.
superior. Yeah. George is with us, Mr. Boyd. George, we're on, love. We're on. We're live. Don't swear. We're live.
I'm just saying how my look-alike is a bit more blokey.
Yeah, you just talking about Boy George's look-alike.
Yeah, George we were just talking about tribute bands off the air, and James just said to Boy George, have you ever met any of the tribute acts that pretend to be you? And he goes, yeah, I'm friends with one of them, who is Keith George of the Boy George Experience.
Yeah.
I think he's actually putting a band together now as well. He wants to go legit.
Oh, really?
He's been doing tracks. And he said to me a few weeks ago, I'm putting a band together. I said, John's available.
Does he need someone who looks like Roy and someone who looks like Mikey? Right, so lots of things to talk about before George gets out of here. So let's just fly through a couple of things. First of all, would you like to go and see Boy George and Culture Club? That's right, they are still performing together. They haven't killed each other yet.
Are you asking me?
Uptown Festival, Sunday the 27th of July, Blackheath in London.
Nice.
Does Blackheath hold a special place in your heart?
Well, Blackheath, I grew up in SE9 originally and then SE18. Blackheath's kind of like the posh bit of where I lived.
Right.
Right.
So when we were kids, we were like, I'd love to live in Blackheath, but it's, like posh.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like somewhere that I've, spent a lot of time as a kid. My art teacher lived in Blackheath, Mr. Riddock.
Oh, Mr. Riddock. This is Sunday, 27th of July, Blackheath in London. It is Boy George and Culture Club all together.
And possibly Chris Moores, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm available.
That'll be good.
I'm available. Yeah, I could do it. I'm DJ. Put me on the bill. And all of the songs, all of your Culture Club big songs.
Yeah, we do everything. Everything and more. It's. We're lucky because we've got quite a few to choose from.
You've got a few.
You've got one or two, haven't you? Yeah.
Our fans, like the hardcore fans, kind of want to hear more different things as well. They don't just want to hear the same things over and over. So we mix it up. We always do the obvious ones. Karma, Do Really, Church.
Yeah.
I love
such a great song.
Yeah, but
do you have a favourite yourself of the back catalogue, or does it just change from...
We just did a tour before Christmas where we did the first two albums, and that was really interesting because those songs from the first album we'd never played, so that was fun to do that. But I also found it a little bit restrictive. I don't like to go on stage and know exactly what I'm doing.
Sure.
I like to be able to kind of change things mid-show. And I've been lucky because I've got musicians that, we've got additional musicians that can kind of just jam things and try things.
Yeah, nice.
Do they let you do Boy George songs when you're with Boy George and Culture Club? Like if you go, right, this is Bow Down Mister, do they go, I don't bloody think so. But we're not on that one.
I tend to not do, sometimes we do, but I tend to do covers rather than my own stuff because, you know, I want to do it in the way I want to do it. So it's better to just, you know, decide together what you're going to do. So it would be more of a cover than something of mine.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, go and get tickets if you can be in London Sunday 27th of July, Blackheath in London for the Uptown Festival featuring Mr. Boy George and Culture Club, who I've seen many
Bring
many
a picnic, wear a nice hat.
Lovely.
It's always a fun show. It's always a fun show, and you can always watch George look right into his eyes and just see if he's in one of those little mischievous naughty moods when he's on stage, because you always know where if he laughs and George has got which is he's in a naughty mood laugh.
I feel like that's come about as I've got older. I don't think I used to laugh like that in my 20s, but it's just happened.
Yeah, I can always tell when you're having a good time on stage when you get a little bit
I always have a good time on stage.
I know, but you know what I mean? It's like when I go, he's really enjoying
I feel like
tonight.
Yeah, I like that thing of like going out and saying it's a difficult audience, because how can you say that about an entire audience? But you say all the audience is difficult. Rubbish.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So once you get rid of that thought, you know, and I also don't mind a difficult crowd. When I was touring with Squeeze last year, we did a swap. So some nights we go on first, some nights they would. And it's not something that I've done a lot. And but I like the challenge, because, you know, people are a bit like, drunk, they're not quite in the mood. And one night we opened with Karma Chameleon, you've never seen people running into a stadium quicker.
Great.
Like, let's just turn it upside down.
It's good. I like it.
You know, I feel like those sort of opening gigs can be quite powerful.
Definitely.
Because you have to work hard to get people to stand up.
Yeah.
George is set to release on the 21st of this month his reggae album.
Vinyl only, it's not going to be streamed.
SE18.
Vinyl and CD, old school, taking it right back to the beginning.
Wow.
And it's really, I've actually forgotten how much I love records. Do you know what I mean? Like just physical.
Yeah, physical.
They are hand it to me. Can I have a look?
I think my audience kind of just wants stuff they can have.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a vinyl head.
Stories,
I do love it. Yeah.
Lyrics.
Yeah. Definitely.
Who played on what?
It does make a difference. You physically hold.
I was listening to, we've got a pile of records and a record player in the kitchen at home, of which there may be the odd Boy George album in there, the odd Culture Club album in there, and the last two albums that have been on there have been Elton John, which I think was Madman Across the Water, and the new Lottery Winners album.
Right. Yeah.
And I just love the fact that two different points of time on vinyl, but that noise of I know it sounds silly, but just taking a record out the sleeve. So this is all new tracks?
All new tracks. So there's 10 songs on the album and 13 on the CD.
I love that.
And more coming.
Oh, really?
Yeah, more coming. Actually, this is a new kind of way of getting vinyl now, because you haven't got to wait 6 months to get it. It's print to order, so it's really exciting. And I actually saw it on TikTok.
What? We talked about.
Yeah, and I was like, this is amazing. And blah, blah, blah. I put my record up and they took it down because they were like, you're not Boy George. I had to write them a letter because Dean put the record up and they were like, who's this Dean?
Who's Dean then?
I should have called my label Dean Records.
So it's via a business called Elastic Stage, and we talked about it on the air because I found out, obviously with Tiff and you, and you can get your tracks made onto vinyl, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But then they also sell it so you can get your tracks made up. So if you want to get George's new album, SE18, go and have a look at Elastic Stage, which is, it sounds like I'm saying it wrong, but
obviously record players are getting smaller now. They're doing these new style, almost like handbags.
Absolutely, yeah.
So get a record player as well.
Oh, and it's got proper sleeve notes.
Oh, it's a proper booklet.
Everything.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
That's a wicked picture, by the way. I've not seen that before of you on stage. From behind, I like that.
During the pandemic, that was.
Oh, was it?
When we did this live stream, and there was nobody there.
Oh, I watched that. It was a great show, but I just remember thinking this must be weird for you guys, because was it at Wembley Arena because you were meant to play and then couldn't do the gig, so you just did the live stream of it. That's weird.
That's really strange, yeah.
You also did, I think, around the same time, you did a similar gig. Well, you went and sung with Paul Weller.
I did, yeah.
Do you remember that?
I remember just the palaver during that period of like, you know, masks and going here and going there. But it was great. I mean, obviously, I love Paul. He's brilliant.
I made a list last night of some of the people that George has sung with.
Oh, right.
And
quite a long list, I would think.
Now, I thought I knew a lot of these, but lots of them I didn't know. Luther Vandross, you sang with Luther.
I did.
You did What Becomes the Broken Heart.
We did at the Harlem Apollo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you remember who introduced you? Can you remember who introduced you to?
Yes, it was, what's his name?
It's not aged well.
Oh, okay.
Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder.
Wow.
Do you get nervous when you do?
Oh my God, I was terrified.
Stevie Wonder.
Absolutely. So, almost wish I could do it now. Like all of those things that I did, everyone I sung with, I wish I could do it now rather than then, because then I was just so insecure, so self-doubting, you know, and it was so overwhelming to be in a room with someone like Stevie Wonder. I'd kind of grown up, you know, listening to all his music. I mean, I think he's probably one of the greatest songwriters ever, and you know, just being in a room with him and just thinking, oh my God.
But what I love about this list is it's so all over the place. So you go, all right, so Stevie Wonder, Luther Vandross, Paul Weller, Smokey Robinson from the Miracles, Tim Burgess from the Charlatans, and then Dolly Parton, Dionne Warwick. It's lit Gladys Knight. Like, I never knew you'd sung with Dolly Parton.
Yeah, we did a track together called Your Kisses Are Charity, and she was amazing, because when I asked her to do it, I thought she was going to say no.
Yeah.
And what was amazing about her, all she wanted was a car to the studio and like a little bit of money, but it was nothing. It was like, really? I was expecting to get like a massive bill, but she just wanted a car. She was so nice, so easygoing, so not a diva.
Yeah, great.
You know,
and a great voice.
Beautiful, yeah.
You met Frank Sinatra.
I did, and you know what? It's one of my biggest regrets, because I went to see him at the Albert Hall, and I was a massive fan. You know, we grew up with Sinatra, so I was like a big fan. But for some reason, at that point, I think I was so full of my own self-importance. Frank Sinatra, you know, and I just forgot to be present.
Right.
I forgot to be there. I didn't get a photo.
Oh, do you know?
Which I've always regretted, you know.
Well, maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it wasn't you. Maybe you were just so overwhelmed by it.
Was me.
Do you think
it was me? Oh yeah, I know it was me. It's like I look back, I'm like, my God, I was in a room with Frank Sinatra, and I was like, yeah, terrible.
Did you meet him?
Yeah.
But you just don't really remember much about it.
You know, I guess I've never. You know, like if there's a photographer there, I'm always a bit embarrassed to kind of go up to someone and say, "Can I take a photo?"
Yeah,
because like, you know, it's like, what if they say no? You know what I mean? Also, you kind of feel like you're on the level once you start getting successful.
Yeah,
you know, you sort of get into the idea that you've got to act like a star. And a star doesn't ask someone for a photograph. You know, now I wouldn't care. Now if I like someone, I'll go up to them and, you know, say, no matter who it is, you know.
Yeah.
I met Patti Smith in a restaurant in New York, and I thought, I've got to go and speak to her now. I ran up to her, and she was very sweet.
Yeah.
That's that. But you met Rod Stewart though, similarly, didn't you? Didn't you meet Rod in LA?
I met Rod like in the 80s. He came to our gig in LA, and I wouldn't let him in the dressing room because I was like so freaked out, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. And but then I've met him a lot of times since then. I've toured with him. He's adorable.
Yeah.
Very quickly, he's doing the Legends slot at Glastonbury this year.
Rod is.
Yeah. When is George doing the Legends slot at Glastonbury?
Who knows?
Would you do it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've done Glastonbury a couple of times with Mark Ronson. I did like the Thursday night once, which was hilarious because I was like, what do I play? And we did Karma Chameleon. It was like punk. The crowd went insane. I was like, oh, they like it. So, you know, it's... I did my friend's wedding last week and I sang Karma Chameleon. He hates that song. I was like, everyone else is going to love it though. So it's not for you.
It's not about you.
I said, your mum's here. I'm doing it. And actually it went down brilliantly. But he was like, I hate that song. I goes, I know you do, but I couldn't get up on stage and not do it.
Yes.
I think you guys at Glastonbury, I think you in the Legends slot
it'd be incredible.
would be absolutely
Oh, yeah.
perfect. I really do. I think it'd be brilliant. I'm going to make it happen.
I'm not in a hurry, though.
No, well, you're not going anywhere. Lovely to see you. So go and see George at the Uptown Festival if you want at the end of July. Uptown Festival 2025. Go and get your tickets, and then get George's new album SE18 and get it on vinyl and CD at Elastic Stage. So go and check it out. Always a pleasure.
Love you. Thank
Nice
you.
to see you,
Lovely
George.
to see you.
Give me that back.
It's all right, I'll buy mine. Don't worry, I've got it.
Now I've got to. This has got for a competition.
We thought that was a gift, George.
Oh, it's
I'll
fine.
send you one.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Boy George.
Thank you.
Few moments
Me.
making me laugh and telling us the full history of London.
Exactly. I originally come from Eltham at SE9.
Yeah.
And I then moved when I was about 14 to Woolwich. So Blackheath was always the posh. It was always the dream.
The
Let's move to
aspiration.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, I live in Hampstead now, so I've transcended Blackheath.
Is your heart South London?
If I can find a big enough house. Because I don't really believe in downsizing. I think bigger house, bigger house. You know, I feel like downsizing is like giving up.
But it wasn't far from his lifelong hero, David Bowie.
Bit of a Bowie stalker, is that fair enough? There we go, look at that everybody.
As a boy, he even went and sat by Bowie's house one day.
I spent the day with these kind of much older kind of Bowie fans all dressed up, looked amazing. You know, it was such a fantastic day. And while we were there, Angie Bowie opened the window and told us to off. And we were so delighted. We were so thrilled to be like noticed. Acknowledged, yeah.
In fact, he's such a fan. Guess who he was on Stars in Their Eyes? Twice.
Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be David Bowie.
David Bowie! Put your long blonde hair and your eyes are blue.
So hilariously, when I eventually met Bowie, he said to me, "Hey, you want stars in the eyes? Stars in the eyes, do me." I went, "Yeah, well done, son." And I said, "Actually, I've won it twice." The first time was obviously that the competition wasn't great, but the second time I was like, I can't lose. So I went to a voice coach. I went to a dialect coach. There was a woman that lived in Hampstead who was a very famous dialect coach. And I went to her and she basically dissected Bowie's voice for me. She told me where to put my tongue. So I put like that, David Bowie.
I love that secret stuff.
Boy George is about to release a brand new record, SE18, where he also once lived, but on vinyl and not streaming.
Streaming is so indifferent. It's like a one-night stand. You know, whereas this is like full-on love-making.
Boy George is a man of many projects, but next month, Culture Club will be coming to Blackheath.
Final question. When you go to Glastonbury, you go, "Hello Glastonbury." What do you say when you go to Uptown Blackheath? What's the thing when you come out on stage? "Hello Blackheath."
I don't think you say anything.
Just start
I
singing.
think you just look great.
What are you going to wear?
Everything. I feel like if you've got the right hat on, there's nothing to say. I'm Boy George, and I know everything. Don't forget to watch me.
And you'll be back performing in London next month at Blackheath's Uptown Festival.
Yeah, which is great because obviously I grew up in South East London, not quite Blackheath. Blackheath is kind of posh. That was the aspiration when I was growing up. I always wanted to buy a house in Blackheath, but I grew up in Eltham till I was 14, and I lived in Woolwich until I left home. So yeah.
A proper South East London boy.
Yeah.
Does that make it even more special?
I think so. I mean, I feel like, you know, there is a real energy in South East London. There's a vibe, you know, it's a real bustling place. It's very multicultural.
Now, I've heard you say that the way you perform now is night and day different to how it was in the 80s and an artist. What did you mean?
Well, I don't know, I think I'm a happier person. I'm in control of my happiness in a way that I have never been.
Do you feel a different connection with the audience?
I feel a different connection with myself, and in turn I think that makes, you know, if you're nicer to yourself, generally means you're nicer to other people.
Is the same true of a DJ? You DJ around the world. It is a big part of your life. Would you say the same is true of that, especially in terms of that connection? What is it about DJing?
Well, I think it's the music, 1000%. It's always about the music, and I try not to be rigid about what I play. I mean, I get away with a lot because of who I am, so I can drop things that maybe other DJs wouldn't dare drop, you know.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I like that, because otherwise how do I stand out? You know, I'm not there to be the same as everybody else. I'm not there to audition either. I am who I am.
You certainly are. And you've surprised a few people by going into the jungle on I'm a Celebrity a couple of years ago. And yes, you said it was good money, but were you really prepared for it? Was it harder than it looks?
I think for me, it helped me kind of, I don't know, I felt quite relaxed after I did it, even though I didn't necessarily enjoy the experience. I'm hungry! I felt like, you know, people got to see another side of me. Some people didn't like it. Some people didn't like it at all, but I felt like people were really nice to me when I came out. I was really surprised, because obviously I've been on TV with no makeup on for 2 weeks, so people recognised me everywhere I went, and I was surprised by, you know, what was written about me in the press and how the public reacted to me, which was entirely different. People were really nice to me. They thought I was funny. They thought I was honest, which I am. And yeah, I think it was a good thing in that way.
And just finally, you seem in a really good place.
I think I am, yeah. I don't know how to put that into words, but yeah, I think I'm pretty happy.
That was Boy George speaking to me a little earlier this afternoon when he popped in.
Who's here? Well, Boy George, right here, with the one thing that annoys him most about pop stars today. Boy George is here. Lewis Capaldi, I loved that moment where the audience just lifted him. You know, when he kind of got, because his Tourette's just kind of took over and the audience lifted him up. It was beautiful, wasn't it?
It was, and I think if that happens, which I hope it doesn't, maybe he has an amazing performance, but if it does, I think the audience will carry that moment, because people know. So there's a lot of affection out there for him. So I think he's going to have... Also, I think it brings an excitement and attention, which you don't get from a lot of artists, you know.
And there's that thing of music just bringing everybody together again, because you've done it. I mean, you've done everything, for goodness sakes. And
I've done Glasgow a few times. It's insane.
Is it really good?
It's so fun, yeah.
It sounds great. Look, I've got so much to talk to you about, but that's going to be after the competition. Well, that last wee song, just a wee tiny bit of it we heard there, was The World Is Cool from Boy George's new album, SE18. And SE18, very special. It's where you grew up, isn't it? The postcode.
Yeah, I mean, actually, SE9 is where I was born, Elton. But we got a bit posh and we moved to SE18.
Right.
And I'm doing a gig in Blackheath, which is the posh part of where I grew up. So when you were a kid, like Blackheath was where you wanted to live when you made it.
Exactly.
But yeah, I never lived in Blackheath.
No, it's brilliant, and you're doing so much. I mean, obviously this new music is out, which is great. I know you love vinyl, and you wanted it on vinyl, of course. Is it true that the people who were doing that for you thought that you were a Boy George impersonator? Does this happen to you often? So
Elastic Stage is a vinyl to order website. It's a new thing, and I loved it, because usually it takes about 6 months to get vinyl made. So this is instant. So I was like, I'm having some of this, put my track up, and they wrote me a letter saying, who is this imposter? So I had to write a letter to them
to say, no,
really I'm actually me, because my friend Dean put the album up, and he was like, they were like, who's Dean?
It's bonkers. So sometimes when you're out and about, people say, you know, are you Boy George or are you not?
Yeah, some people get confused.
Right.
Like last night, the driver was like, oh, do you name yourself after that Boy George? And I was like...
That's me. That's me, that is.
But usually when I'm in a car, if someone says, oh, you look familiar, I always say I'm Boy George.
Of course.
Cut out all the small talk. Just
exactly.
Say, yeah.
No, it's me. Yes,
Get
it is
to the
me.
point, you know?
And also, you're really good with people, like with fans of, you know, either new ones that, you know, that you've gathered over the years, or people that have been with you right from the very start, like me. You're always really good, because I think because of that, it's that thing of, if people want a selfie, do it. It takes 2 minutes. It doesn't even take 2 minutes. It takes a minute. But a lot of people these days...
You've got filters. Doesn't matter. I always say to me, we've got a nice filter. That's always preferable.
Then that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Usually, like, people don't care what you look like.
No.
They're more interested in whether you're nice to them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And, I have to be honest, there have been times years ago when I was like, oh, I'm not dressed and all that. I don't do that anymore.
No, you don't care.
No.
It's fine.
I actually just think, get to the point, take the photo, shut up. No one cares what you look like.
And just smile and
they're going to go away saying, oh, he was nice, rather than saying he was really rude. I mean, I have been rude, don't get me wrong, and I always felt terrible about it afterwards. Yeah. So I think, as a rule, it's just better not to be rude and be nice.
Exactly. Be kind and do all of that. Congratulations on Broadway, on Moulin Rouge. That went incredibly well.
I loved it. It was hard work, but I loved it.
That is a fantastic musical. And I am told that when you toddled off, when you finished your stint, shall we just say ticket sales did not go well?
I might be going back, you never know.
But when you go back, it'll be a boost
up. I might go back, yeah.
Do you love doing all that? Is it great?
Do you know what? Last year I did it for 3 months. I had the most amazing time. But this year I feel like something shifted.
Yeah.
I kind of just really was able to enjoy it more this time.
OK, because that's the most important thing. I mean, you've got to a stage in your life when you should just be doing
You have
things
to forget who you are when you're playing a character like Harold Seedley. You have to forget that you're Boy George.
Exactly, exactly. Are you off to Ibiza at the weekend? Are you doing your
Saturday.
DJing?
I've got a gig at Pasha.
Fantastic. Again, that is fabulous. That's a whole new generation as well. I mean, gosh, it's just...
Yeah, and the audience is quite young at Pasha, but they're really open to all types of music.
Well, that's really
And I get away with a lot because of who I am. So I play things like Britney, obviously remix, but I play a lot of cheeky stuff that say a cool DJ would never dare play, And
then you've made it cool. You've made
exactly.
it cool. What I love about you over the years is you've always stood up for people who sometimes don't have a voice for themselves. And as we know, and we've talked about it in this show a lot, and people in the trans community have been, crikey, it's been very tough for them. And you've actually said, no, this isn't fair. You've been good like that, and you've always been good like that.
When I was a kid, when I was 7, it was obvious to everyone that I was gay. Obviously, I didn't know what it was, and parents often know, but they don't say anything because they think if they don't talk about it, it will go away. Usually with trans kids, it's the kid that informs the adult.
Right.
Through different behaviour, the little girls are not acting like a little girl should, little boys doing this, that and the other. So usually it's the kid that informs the adults. And this idea that a parent pushes their kid to be trans is so ridiculous. I mean, I've got friends who've got kids that are trans, and it's a nightmare. Yeah. And they struggle, should I do the right thing? Should I wait till the kid is 18 or 21? All of that stuff is, it's real life stuff.
Yeah.
It's not two celebrities bickering on the internet.
No, because I know you have had a row with J.K. Rowling. A lot of people have. And I mean, they absolutely have. But
I think it's hilarious
really
that you're having a row with someone I've never met.
Yeah, I know.
Probably never will meet.
No.
And
But that's what happens on the internet.
In the movies, she creates this beautiful, magical world.
Yeah.
And in real life, she's a muggle. So it's very disappointing to find out that actually, in a way, it's not true.
Do you think that we will ever get to a case where I would love to be, where it really, really doesn't matter?
I think
and we just
for
let
most
people go on with their lives?
Most people, it doesn't matter.
I know.
It matters only whether you're a nice person or a horrible person.
Exactly.
And, nobody chooses to be trans or gay. No one chooses to have blue eyes. It just happens,
Yeah.
And it's just, sad that somebody who's so creative... I love the movies. I mean, the movies are brilliant. I bet she's watching now. Morning.
Maybe she is, maybe she
Get
is.
over it.
I know. I just find it really, having friends who are trans and who are going through a really tough time, it's just like, let's be fair about stuff. Let's be fair. Let's talk and we can all have our points of view. But at the end of the day, we're all just people blundering through and trying to get on with our lives.
But also, no one goes into the loo to hang out. It's a horrible place, smelly, stinky, horrible place. No one goes in there to hang out. They're going in there.
It always comes down to toilets, doesn't it? It's like halfway. It always comes down to toilets, and I don't quite know why.
Exactly.
For goodness sake, listen. I want to ask you about the movie because you know what it's like with you. We had Taboo, which was incredible. The stage show, I loved it. But are we going to have a movie of Boy George's life. How we get it into a couple of hours, I do not know.
I
But
hope
are
so.
we?
I mean, it'll be fun, but at the moment, they're still working on the scripts.
Right.
Because, there's a lot that you can say.
There's a lot that you can say. There's a lot that you can't
War and
say.
Peace.
There's an awful lot that you can't say. But that will be a movie and a half.
Yeah, I'll probably hide when it comes out.
It'll be amazing. Because, what a life you're having.
Yeah.
When you look back over 40 years, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, and I think that, having fun, is so important, especially the fact that we, what I get to do, what you get to do,
We're very
what J.K.
lucky.
Rowling gets to do.
We're very lucky.
And
We're
makes
all
a
very
fortune
lucky.
out of it.
Yeah, let's all just be kinder. I love you. And the album SE18 is out right now. It's a cracker, obviously. That's nearly it from us.
So welcome to Smooth.
Thank you.
And it's good to see you back. And by the way, with a new album as well, SE18. SE18, that's the area, the postcode from where you're from, is it?
Yeah, well, it's where I grew up. I actually come from SE9, Eltham, but when I was about 14, I moved to Woolwich. So SE18 was where I sort of spent my most interesting teenage years.
Yeah. What can we expect from this album? Go on. Because presumably when you're working an album, you work on it for quite a while. So it's everything you want it to be by the end of it.
Well, I write all the time, so I don't necessarily sit and work on an album. I write songs every day. I'm always working on music. So I actually, this is coming out on vinyl and CD only, so it's not going to be streamed because it feels like it's time to have a different relationship with my audience. Like things they can hold. They like records. And I think that the streaming thing, it's just weird what gets streamed. Last year, my biggest streaming song was The Crying Game. I didn't even write it. It's a great song, but I didn't write it. So I feel like by putting stuff out just on vinyl and CD, it's kind of old school. It means that people that want physical product can have a different experience with the music. And this record is, it's a pop record. It's reggae vibe. It's very summery. It's very joyful, positive. It's spreading really the same message that I started with. Really, nothing's changed. Here we are in a circle, having the same conversations we had 30 years ago. It's insane.
I know. Well, you say 30 years ago. It might be a little bit more than that now. If we're going to be
I think
accurate.
it's longer than 30. It's about 45 or something.
It is, though. Was there ever a plan B, George, by the way? I mean, because obviously, pretty much your entire adult life, this is what you've done. We've known you since early 80s.
Yeah.
What do you think you'd have done had it not been this?
I think I'm lucky because I DJ, I make art, I do theatre. I'm very open to different challenges. I get bored easily and I like working. So I never, ever, like people say, you're tired. I'm like, no. Because I feel like, when I'm tired, I know how to do nothing. Put on Downton Abbey, watch it, But I love working and I'm very lucky to do what I do. I just get a lot of pleasure out of being me. I think when I was younger, I walked around with a lot more anxiety. Yesterday I went to the theatre and I had to go to this party and I had to walk down Oxford Street in full regalia. And it was so funny. Because most people are like...
You stand out quite a bit when
but
you walk
most
down the
people are
street.
like, just ignore you. But then you get people going, oh, you Boy George. And it was like taking photos of people in the street and... You know what I mean? It's just getting over yourself is really a good thing to do, because it's funny people go to all this trouble to be famous and then they hide. And I think a lot of that is your own anxiety about not looking perfect. If you're out shopping, you got your sweats on, you don't want, now I just have a really open policy to everyone. I never say no to a photo unless I'm on the loo. I'll say, no, maybe not now, but I'm always friendly to everyone. I'm just not rude anymore.
I really hope no one has asked for your autograph or a photo while you're on
Once
the loo.
on a train in Japan, someone came in the loo and I was like, maybe not. Wait till I come outside.
That's not your favourite time to be asked, let me
No,
tell you.
wash my hands, come on.
I love the fact as well that you said that you're always like writing all the time. Do you carry around a little notebook or something if you think of an idea?
Do you know what? This morning when I was doing my makeup, I kept going, that's a good line. Because, Christine, who does my makeup, is kind of a genius because she just comes up with crackers all the time. And, the trick is to kind of, when you hear something, oh, that's a great line, write it down. People always say to me, you turn everything into a song. But I'm like, that's what everyone does. But some people sit down and do it, in a writing session, but I'm doing it all the time. So if I hear a great comment from someone, I see something on a poster, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That could work as a chorus. So I'm always looking for not only things to write about, but also things I haven't written about. So what is there else to say? There's so much to write about that we stick to the rules a lot of the time, and I try not to do that.
But then I guess that's why it's important to mix things up and try new things. This is what you're saying. You're always up for doing something. I mean, documentary. That's exciting. And they just had the premiere just recently in New York.
In New York, yeah.
You weren't able to
I wasn't able to go because my visa ran out on the 30th, so I had to scoot out of America. But
that is the least glamorous answer to that question.
It's true. And Roy and Mikey were there, and they said it was hilarious because obviously watching it with a crowd, there's a lot of humour. The beginning of it's hilarious. Then it gets a bit serious towards the end, but the beginning is so funny, just like the one-liners. They found this footage of me, like before I got famous, where people are heckling me, and I'm like, "Oh, get lost! I'm going to spend the money on more makeup." Just hilarious, because I forgot that, like, before we got famous, people were like, "What do you look like?" And all that, and it was so funny. And then suddenly we became famous, and people were like, "Oh, you're famous," but there was a lot of stuff that happened before that was hilarious, and they managed to find some of it. It's very funny to watch.
That's amazing if you're doing a documentary and they do find all this footage. And in fact, I think the director said that she was surprised how forthcoming everyone was telling the story as well. But it must be quite interesting. It must feel, because it is quite a long time, it's 40 odd years.
Yeah.
It must feel like when you're remembering all these events that sometimes it feels like a different life, or that you've made it up in a wee bit way.
Sometimes other people tell stories and you're like, I don't remember you being the hero. You weren't wearing a cape when I was there. Like, people change history. But what you got to remember it's like, the documentary isn't for me. It's not made for me. So I don't have to feel anything particular about it. I mean, bits of it made me very, like, sentimental, made me laugh. There were some things that I thought were really important. Like, they talk a lot about the bands that influenced me, Susie and the Banshees, Polly Styrene, all these characters, a lot of women actually that I was obsessed with them when I was like a teenager. So it was nice to see that talked about. And in fact, one of the funniest things in the documentary is I actually say, I'm a goth that ended up in a pop band. I wanted to be in Susie and the Banshees and I ended up in Culture Club. It is hilarious.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing because we've had some pretty good music out of it. In fact, it's interesting, and I think it's one of the things that we heard about, and it's come through the documentary, that you talk about Live Aid and Band Aid. And was it you that planted the seed for Live Aid to Bob when you were recording Band Aid?
Maybe, I don't know. I definitely don't think I can take credit for that, but the reason I didn't do it was because I wasn't well. I was a mess. So it would have been the worst thing I could have done. So I was like, guys, we're not doing Live Aid because, like, I'm not match fit, and it would have been in the way that it made a lot of people's careers. It would have ended out. So it's like, no, I'm not going.
So it's such a shame, though. It's such a shame.
It is, but I'm kind of like very much about now. I don't kind of sit around going, oh, I wish I'd done that. I'm just excited about what I'm doing now. I don't live in the past. It's just not, it doesn't exist.
I love the fact that you were treading the boards on Broadway, Moulin Rouge. I mean, when I think of you in that role, it feels like it's just a role that's for you. Will you do that in London at all?
I might go back to America. We'll see. I mean, I need definitely a break from it because repetition is really good, because it makes you, better at what you're doing when you're acting. But, there's a point where I want to do something else now. So I'm going to be in IB for next week DJing. I just love variety and, I get bored very quickly.
Yeah. I know that's the thing when you do a stage show as well. It's what, like 8 performances a week as well?
Yeah, 8 shows a week. But, you get into the routine of it and, you can't have a social life. Like, I saw more people from the UK that came out to see the show than I did of any of my American friends because you just have no time to socialise. Monday, every theatre is closed. You're horizontal. You can't move. I got Tuesday off as well, which was great. So, but on the whole, you're there to work, and you don't have time to hang out with anyone.
Yeah. I mean, there's some great shows and great stars in them as well. So it's quite a nice environment to be in.
I went to see Nicole Scherzinger in Sunset Boulevard. That was great because it was just before I went back into Moulin Rouge. That gave me a real shot in the arm. I was like, wow, she was amazing.
She was good.
Okay, up your game.
Yeah, she is. I saw her a couple of times in London doing. I found it mesmerising, the whole thing.
Yeah, I loved it. It was so good.
Yeah,
so
really good. I also want to talk about this summer. You're doing a couple of festivals, aren't you?
Yeah, we're going to be playing in Blackheath, which is kind of, you know, where I come from, but the posh bit of where I come from. The bus used to go through Blackheath, and that's where you dreamed of having a house. You know, it's like Blackheath. So my art teacher lived. So we're doing a big show in Blackheath. So that's like a coming home show in a way.
Yeah. Do you still love performing? I mean, is it something that as a musician, as a singer, that will always be like the highlight, the pinnacle?
I love it more than I ever did. I did 2 shows at the weekend, one in Germany, one in Denmark. And, you know, we haven't been to Germany in like 20 years. So, you know, we weren't expecting a big crowd, but it was just so beautiful. And it was like, sometimes if you're prepared for it not to be massive and then you get a surprise, you know, because sometimes people turn up on the night. It was fantastic. I mean, you know, and also I'm better at it now. You know, I'm not insecure. I don't kind of, you know, I know what to do. And I really enjoy kind of engaging the audience. And we play everything. We play old stuff, we play new stuff, we play covers. We really have a lot of fun with it. And you have to kind of just, you know, that thing of walking out and saying, oh, it's a tough audience. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing to say because not everybody can be tough, you know. But I think if you walk on with you know, I've got this, I know what I'm doing, and they see that, because people love confidence. They don't want to feel uncomfortable. They want you to be enjoying yourself. And if you are, you can just hold them in your hand.
Yeah. And especially, you know, there's so much music out there to go and see. When people come to see you, you know they're there because they want to see you as well. So it must be really lovely to know.
Yeah, I feel like for me, like trying to, like doing a new song is like, never say it's a new song. Just don't bother with that information because it's like puts everyone's backs up.
But it's funny.
Just tell them what it's called, tell them what it's about. Say it's off an album they never bought.
Because quite often you go to a gig, this probably wouldn't happen to you, and someone will go, it's the new song, and everyone goes, oh, sit down.
That's the thing, though. You've got to, you know, the thing is, it's like, it's really important to play new music. I mean, obviously, if it's not good, it doesn't matter. But if it's good, and you engage the audience and you tell them what it's about, because there's no new music. Everything already exists. This idea that, oh, I'm inventing something new, you know, it's not. It's words and a melody, bit of guitar, bit of bass. It's not rocket science.
Okay, well, we'll hear your new music soon. SE18 is coming out. What's the rest of the summer got in store for you and the rest of the year, 2025?
A bit of DJing. I've gone back to kind of doing some of my DJ sets, which I've loved. You know, being in Ibiza is amazing. And it's also quite a young crowd. So it's great to kind of bring things. I get away with a lot because of who I am, so I can play things that cool DJs wouldn't play, like Britney. I can remix Britney and put it in my set, and you know, if you were a cool DJ, you would never play Britney, but the crowd love it.
Everyone loves a bit of Britney, don't they?
It's about like landing the biggest tune. Actually, last week in Ibiza, I've done a remix of Messy, you know, the Lola Young track.
Yeah.
It was insane. Everyone's singing along. It was so great, you know. So I make a lot of the music I DJ. I make it so that I have stuff that other people don't have. And, you know, it's about reading the crowd, giving people what they want, but also educating them a little bit, taking them somewhere different, you know.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, so you're going to spend quite a bit of time out in the sunshine.
Absolutely. Avoiding the sun.
No, shush. How can you go to Ibiza and avoid the sun?
No, I love it, but I don't sit in the sun and, you know, I'm a little bit careful because, you know, I'm like, protect my skin.
Which is what we should all do. That's it. It's so lovely to have you back on Smooth. Thank you so much for coming in. Good luck with the album.
Thank you.
I look forward to chatting to you again. It's Boy George.
Cheers.
You can do this. You can do this.